In this presentation, we are going to see about flip-flops. What do you mean by flip-flop? A flip-flop is a sequential device that samples its input signals and changes its output states only at times determined by the clocking signal. Flip-flops may vary in the number of inputs they process and the manner in which the input affect the binary states. Types of flip-flops: SR, JK flip-flop, D flip-flop and T flip-flop. SR flip-flop. The clocked RS flip-flop consists of NAND gates and the output changes its state with respect to the input on application of clock pulse. When the clock pulse is high DS and the R inputs reach the second level NAND gates in the complementary form. The flip-flop is reset when the R input is high and the S input is low. The flip-flop is set when the S input is high and the R input is low. When both the inputs are high, the output is in an indeterminate state. Circuit diagram of SR flip-flop. It is used by AND gates. NAND gates. Table for flip-flops. Clock pulse, input SR, present state and the next state. Working of SR flip-flop. Two inputs and a clock signal and the outputs Q and Q dash. JK flip-flop. The indeterminate state in the SR flip-flop is defined in the JK flip-flop. JK inputs behave like S and R inputs to set and reset the flip-flop. The output Q is ANDed with K input and the clock pulse. Similarly, the output Q dash is ANDed with I, J input and the clock pulse. When the clock pulse is 0, both the AND gates are disabled and the Q and Q dash output retain their previous values. When the clock pulse is high, the J and K inputs reach the NOR gates. When both the inputs are high, the output toggles continuously. This is called race around condition and this must be avoided. Circuit diagram of JK flip-flop. Table for JK flip-flop. Clock pulse, inputs JK and output. Working of JK flip-flop. To eliminate the undesirable condition of indeterminate state in the SR flip-flop when both inputs are high at the same time. In the D flip-flop, the inputs are never made equal at the same time. This is obtained by making the two inputs complement of each other. Circuit diagram of D flip-flop with IC 7474. Table for D flip-flop. Clock pulse, input D, output Q. Working of D flip-flop. Here we can see how the D flip-flop works. T flip-flop. T flip-flop is also known as toggle flip-flop. To avoid the occurrence of indeterminate state in SR flip-flop, we should provide only one input to the flip-flop, called the trigger input or toggle input. Then the flip-flop acts as a toggle switch. The T flip-flop is a single input device, and hence by connecting J and K inputs together and giving them with single input called T, we can convert a JK flip-flop into T flip-flop. So a T flip-flop is sometimes called as a single input JK flip-flop. Circuit diagram of T flip-flop. Table for T flip-flop. Here we can see the working of T flip-flop. After all the connections are made,